And hello, everybody. This is Doc, and today we'll be talking about the agricultural revolution tutorial that is found in your text. We'll be hitting the highlights, not going into all details, and I will also be posting a running copy of notes on this topic. I'll be making these posts, I should say, over the next few days this week to help you finish this unit in the Industrial Revolution. The discussion question talked about industry and nationalism, and you have to understand that how a country produces goods is vital to their nation. It provides jobs, it provides goods and services, and it helps not only individuals but the nation's economy. And nations are in competition with each other. Nationalism is the concept that you put your country first and that you want to provide for your people, your economy, your citizens. The growing trend in the world is more of a global economy and globalism, and the idea that it still is competitive, but the idea is to help everyone. However, there's still competition, and of course people will use the idea of global markets, globalism, global economy, and having various trade deals to their own advantage, which makes sense. So nationalism is still tied in even with globalism because nations will tend to put their country first. So let's just look at some of the things. What is the Industrial Revolution? It's highlighted by machines doing the work which had been done by manual labor. If you look at this picture, some of these things today are now done by machine. This is spinning to make thread, this is milking cow, harvesting crops, working with wood, even how we handle produce. All these things are affected by machines. So we look at that, and there are some positive things about machines doing the work that people or living things, manual labor basically, is when a living thing, a person or an animal, has to provide the energy, versus an industrial economy where fossil fuels typically are the source of energy. Now, also you have many other things. For years, people have been using water, such as having mills. They use wind for windmills, and now windmills are used to create high amounts of energy in some areas, but there are problems with that. Nuclear energy is a powerful source of energy, but obviously there are potential problems with that. Solar energy has great potential. It's still not a very efficient form of energy, and it's also very expensive. Obviously, fossil fuels have some other problems. The problems being environmental problems. So what did industrialism mean, though? What were some of the positive aspects of industrialism? Well, increased productivity. More things were being made. Efficiency. People could make things, they could make more of them, and they could make them faster. This outcome was an increase in goods and services to people. Generally speaking, also, wealth rose. Why? Because there were more jobs available and more things for people to get. So the economies boomed. When you have people making money from a job, and you can produce new things that everyone wants, that's great for the economy. And this happened mostly in Europe and in North America. It happened to extents in other places, but basically this was confined to Europe, America, and then to South America, particularly the larger countries like Brazil and Argentina. What were some of the negative things that happened? Well, it widens the gap between those people who own the factories and own the goods and services and own the land where these resources were found, and it made them that they had stuff. They were the haves. And the people who provided labor proportionally did not have as much, and those who couldn't get a job had nothing, and they became have-nots. So the gap, people were around here, like the wealthy might be here, and relatively speaking, the poor might be here. Well, what happened with industrialism, the wealth goes off the chart, and the poor are still staying there. That is because of industrialism, because those people who controlled the goods and services, the sources of energy, who made money by the increase in the desire for new things, got money. That's capitalism. Those people who provide needed services and have key control of industries tend to make more money. And what the difference in capitalism is that consumers determine what is valuable by buying it. Another thing that was a negative aspect is pollution. You had changes in the environment. The land, some areas were devastated by the way that, for example, coal or oil was sought after. You might have water being used and being polluted, like especially like in areas like Massachusetts, where a lot of these factories were powered not only by coal but by water, and water was always needed to create steam. You burn coal in a furnace and use tremendous amounts of water to make steam. But what happened was the natural flow of the river was often diverted. The rivers became polluted because of waste products being put right into the river. And this became a real problem, and it still can be a problem, although from an environmental standpoint, rivers and the way pollution is handled is significantly better and improves and continues to improve each year. The other thing, though, we talked about it before, is exploitation of working poor. A big unexpected outcome and a negative outcome was the increase in slavery as a main part of the United States economy in the South. Slavery was really on the way out until this happened, the cotton gin. And this made cotton very profitable for people. People started to grow cotton all over the place, and it created a tremendous amount of wealth and a tremendous amount of jobs for all people in the textile industry, people making rugs, making all things that are made from cotton, clothing, rugs, things along those lines. The problem at the bottom of the cotton industry were the people who picked the cotton, who sowed the seeds and picked the cotton. And what they would have to do is they would have to individually tease, either using their hands and like a brush to get the seeds out of the fiber. It was very time consuming. So no one grew cotton. The cotton gin used a machine and it did it like that. Boom, done. So where before you get one bale of cotton in a day, you can get 50 bales of cotton from the same labor, the same land in a day. But you need more people. And in the United States, those are slaves. This also led to a tremendous increase in slavery, not only in the United States, but in South America. The economies of Brazil and Argentina made heavy use of slaves in their agricultural industry. Slavery always tends to go to the low, raw end of the economy, and what it does, it provides that biological energy, rather where fossil fuels can't be used. So a really negative and a horrible unintended consequence was the rise of the slave trade. If you look at charts of the number of slaves being brought into North America and then later into parts of South America, or in South America, native people being enslaved also. You learned about that when you learned about the Mestiços and other groups who were at the bottom of that triangle pyramid in South America. Well, slavery was an unintended and a very negative outcome, the increase of slavery. It made slavery was dying in the United States in the late 18th century. Many states were getting rid of it, and the reason was possibly moral, but also not enough people were making enough money. And when people can make money about something, morality will change. Guaranteed. That's a lesson that every culture in history has shown. So we're going to finish this up. I'm going to go about 2 more minutes. Agriculture totally changed. Why? Well, the way that you would plant crops, the way that you would, the kind of crops you could grow, the types of crops you can grow, getting more crops, how you can make livestock better, and using machines. Another thing that affected England was the enclosure laws, and this limited certain areas of land for farming and for crops. So these are things that you want to look for in your text. But agriculture is really important. Now, this person right here, he's important. This is Charles Townsend, and one of the first technologies, it really wasn't, a technological thing, but it was a scientific change, and science is always related to technology and industry. And what he learned how to rotate crops. People would put the same type of crops in the field all the time, and certain crops add to the nutrients of the soil, certain take away. So Townsend started realizing that plants such as turnips and clover really helped the crops, the fields, keep their nutrients. And other types, one was cotton. Cotton is horrible for the soil. It takes just all the nutrients out. He would rotate crops. Now in England they didn't grow cotton, but the United States, this idea found its way to the United States. and also livestock breeding methods came into play. And this was mostly in breeding livestock for meat. So, and this basically made meat, the Industrial Revolution and the changes in farming, made meat a part of the American and the diet in the United States and Great Britain, where before the mainstay of the diet had been bread and starches and seeds, grass, things grow from grasses, like wheat is a grass, rye is a grass, corn is a grass. This was the primary food source. Meat becomes a main staple of the diet in the United Kingdom and in what will become the United States because of the idea of changes in livestock. So food became much more plentiful. If food becomes more plentiful, population always rises because you have an ample food source and you have a means of providing nutrition for children. So that's the highlights of the Industrial Revolution, the part of the Agricultural Revolution. We'll be, talking about changes in technology and other things and looking at how they affect not only agriculture but industry as a whole. We'll have another screencast later this week, probably tomorrow or Wednesday. All right, so you have a great day and use these casts. They will help you. Bye-bye.